Hello, everyone. Welcome to How to Read Chinese Poetry podcast. I'm Zong-qi, the program host. In this podcast program, my colleagues and I aim to introduce cutting-edge scholarship on Chinese poetry to a broad general audience. We will present 52 episodes covering the major poetic genres developed over China's long history. Each episode features close reading of one or more of the best-known Chinese poems, with an aim to illuminate their literary greatness and cultural significance. For all the discussed poems, Chinese text, English translation, romanization, and brief notes are provided at our website, howtoreadchinesepoetry.com. By following the 52 episodes, listener will gain a bird's-eye view of the thematic, formal, and generic evolution of Chinese poetry from antiquity to the modern era. Instruct and delight is what we wish to accomplish in each talk. Without further ado, let's begin. Today, our guest host, Professor Lian, will present his second episode on song poems, entitled The Art of Tongue-in-Cheek, Two Love Songs by Two Great Dramatists. Let us welcome Professor Lian.
Love songs account for a great proportion of the extant Sanqu works. Except for their being bolder in the depiction of the sensual pleasures of love, which makes some critics call this group of songs erotic. Sanqu does not tell us much more about love's ennui and other boudoir sentiments than the song lyrics on the subject of love. It is in the freshness of the poetic expression, reminiscent of the voice of the folk songs of the period, that the Sanqu works on love stand alone. Being a skillful dramatist, the author of this Sanqu poem, Guan Hanqing, finds no trouble creating a dramatic scene with economy. The persona does not explain why her lover deserved to be called an ingrate. It could be that she is just playing a game with him so as to heighten the pleasure of love-making. More probably, her lover has a fickle heart, and she decides that his frivolity should not pass unpunished. Still, she finds it hard to reject him. The bitter-sweet love experience is captured in the dialectic or binary structure at the end. It should be noted that the metrical tune title of the song, Yibar, a half, requires that any piece written to the tune should end with half, half. In fact, the song is selected from a quadruple song sequence, each of which deals with one aspect of a complicated love affair. In the first song, the persona tells that her relationship with her cute red-cheeked sweetheart, which is itself an excellent example of the half and half contradiction, has been half pain and half fun. In another, she complains that because of his absence, her bed is half warm and half cold, just like the unstable relationship between them. In the last song that ends the sequence, she simply admits that there is no way to know his heart, for half of it is true, whilst another half is false. So here we have a good example showing how the formal properties of the tune patterns can become an integral part of the poetic expression of Sanqu works. Statistics make a strong case. There are 43 extant Sanqu songs written by 11 different poets to the same tune of 一半, a half. All of them take love and bourgeois sentiments as their subjects. When these song poems carry thematic titles at all, they either use the word love or spring in the amorous sense, or words expressing love-longing sentiments of female persona touched by fallen flowers or wine, and tears over tokens of love like a kerchief or a letter, etc. All of them exploit to the fullest extent the ambivalent half and half in the coda, which is stipulated or rather guaranteed by the tune pattern. Unique as it might be, the case of the A half here provides a wonderful example of the interaction between the thematic content and the formal pattern in the creation of Sanqu. On the one hand, the special features of a tune pattern, which originate from music, facilitate and encourage the use of the pattern on certain topics. On the other, songwriters' conscious experiment with the pattern sharpens or, paradoxically, in less successful cases, stylizes or fossilizes the expressive power of these special formal features. The author of this love song, Bai Pu, is also one of the great dramatists of Yuan Dynasty. His descriptive Sanqu song poems are full of bright colors and fresh images, while his songs about romantic love are alive with dramatic scenes depicted in the language of everyday speech, and yet free of the bawdiness frequently seen in the Sanqu works of the similar kind. The English translation here adopts a first-person female voice, but if one reads the poem in the original, it is hard to tell if this is my story, or his story, or her story, because not a single personal pronoun is used. Readers can choose to take the first 3 lines as a third-person narration and the last 2 lines as a direct quote from the girl, or even to treat the whole piece as a third-person story, with the 2 concluding lines being the poet's authorial comment. Whatever the case, no one will miss the message conveyed by this light-hearted love song. The girls laughing at the very beginning of the song sets the tone for everything that follows. The coquettish love makes the girls move a loving gesture when she tries to prevent her lover from reading books, and gives him no excuse to get annoyed. It also helps bring out the innocence and naivete in her undisguised reputation of his worldly ambition, and makes her exhortation sound somewhat pleasing. The charm and sweetness of the female character, which can be palpably felt between the lines, is living proof that the joy of love is far more desirable than the success in one's official career. Judging from the intensity of the love scene in the middle of the song, the red sleeve does successfully overcome the silver candle light. The word silver, which modifies the candle, either refers to the color of the candle or the light it casts on the material of the candle stand. The only thing that matters is the original meaning of the word silver, which is money. Instantly, the symbolic meaning of the blocking out of the silver candle by the red sleeve becomes self-evident. It is a metonymy standing for the conflict between two values. The conflict is further complicated by the books that the male lover reads, since it is with the books that the girl needs to compete for her lover's attention. This entanglement between the red sleeve and the silver candlelight and the books can be explained by a possible subtext in the poem, a popular saying that enjoys the same status as that of the most well-known nursery rhymes in the Chinese language. 书中自有颜如玉. It reads like a lampoon definition of the civil service examination system. In books, there are thousands of bushels of grain. In books, there are no lack of golden mansions. In books, there are girls as beautiful as jade. The argument that concludes the song takes the same utilitarian approach. Isn't it just about money and beauty? Whether you can find those things in books is still uncertain. But just look at the red sleeve close at hand. The girl as beautiful as jade is already right in front of you. Therefore, who cares even if you pass the exam? The rhetorical question forcefully proves that the red sleeve should outweigh the books. Had the question been posed as, who cares even if you fail, it would imply that success is still the first choice, and the red sleeve only the comforting compensation one gets after failing the exam. Seeing in this light, maybe there is still another way to interpret the poetic persona of the poem. The concluding lines could be the exclamation uttered by the male character who has just been enlightened by the education of love and wants to throw away his books for good.
Let us thank Professor Lian for such a stimulating talk. We look forward to his third episode on song poems next Tuesday. I hope you enjoyed the talk. Let's relax and listen to a reading of the poems in Mandarin.
一半提情。碧纱窗外竟无人，跪在床前忙要亲。骂了个负心回转身，虽是我话儿嗔，一半推辞，一半肯。阳春曲，提情。笑将红袖遮银烛，不放才郎夜看书。相偎相抱互欢娱，只不过蝶应举，及第待何如。
To the tune A Half on Love. All was quiet outside the green gauze window curtain. He knelt down in front of my bed and wanted to get intimate. I just called him an ingrate and turned my back on him. Though there was annoyance in what I said, half of it meant to reject, the other half consent. To the tune Spring Song on Love. Laughing, I block out the silver candlelight with red sleeve and forbid my erudite dear one to read books. Nestling together, we have such fun. Isn't that only about exams? Who cares, even if you pass?